Hey everyone, grab your snacks, sit back, and enjoy some absolutely insane Reddit-style stories. Make sure you stick around until the very end because somehow these stories only get crazier. By the time we reach the last one, you might actually question humanity. And after every story, I want you to tell me who you think was really in the wrong. Some of these are going to split opinions completely. All right, enough talking. Let's get into the first story. I thought I had the perfect marriage. Emily and I had been together for 9 years. We owned a nice house, had stable jobs, and from the outside, our life looked perfect. Friends constantly told us we were relationship goals. We laughed together, traveled together, and never seemed to fight. At least that's what I believed. About a year ago, Emily started taking business trips almost every month, usually 3 or 4 days at a time. It never seemed suspicious because her company had expanded into several cities. Every time she packed her suitcase, kissed me goodbye, and promised she'd call every night. Looking back now, I realize those phone calls became shorter and shorter as time went on. One Tuesday afternoon, she called to tell me she had another business trip. Nothing unusual. I wished her luck, told her I loved her, and went back to work. That evening, everything changed. I received a phone call from one of her coworkers. He sounded confused. "Hey, is Emily sick?" I laughed. "No, she's on a business trip." There was a long pause. Then he quietly replied, "What business trip?" Apparently, Emily had taken vacation days. There wasn't a single work trip scheduled. Not that week. Not the month before. Not even the previous 6 months. The second I hung up, I felt my stomach drop. I wanted to call her immediately. I wanted answers. Instead, I did something much smarter. The next morning, I borrowed my friend's car so she wouldn't recognize me. I waited until she left the house and followed her from a distance. She didn't drive toward the airport. She drove nearly 2 hours away to a quiet beach town. She parked outside a luxury apartment complex. I sat there watching. 5 minutes later, a man walked outside. He smiled. She ran toward him. Then they kissed. Not a quick kiss. Not an awkward kiss. The kind of kiss only two people deeply in love share. At that moment, my entire marriage ended. I could have walked over. I could have screamed. Instead, I drove home. That night, I contacted a divorce lawyer. His advice was simple. Don't confront her, collect evidence. For the next 2 months, I acted completely normal. Every fake business trip, I documented photos, hotel bookings, text messages, bank transfers. Eventually, we uncovered something even worse. She wasn't just cheating. She'd secretly been taking money from our joint savings account, small amounts every month, enough that I never noticed. When we added everything together, almost $80,000 had disappeared. When I finally handed her the divorce papers, she looked genuinely shocked. She stared at me and asked, "Why are you doing this?" I couldn't believe it. She actually expected sympathy. Then things somehow got even worse. During the financial investigation, authorities discovered she'd hidden freelance income for years and failed to report it properly. The investigation quickly expanded beyond our divorce. Within months, she was facing criminal charges, massive financial penalties, and eventually, jail time. The man she'd risked everything for disappeared the moment the investigation began. He didn't visit, he didn't call, he simply vanished. A few years later, I received a message from Emily. It simply read, "I made the biggest mistake of my life." I stared at it for a long time. Then I deleted it without replying. Some people think revenge means making the other person suffer. I disagree. The best revenge is living a better life without them. So here's my question. If you discovered your partner had been living a secret double life for over a year, would you confront them immediately? Or would you quietly gather evidence first? Let me know in the comments because I honestly think this one is going to split opinions. Story 2, My best friend stole my identity, then tried to frame me. Segment 1. Growing up, Ryan wasn't just my best friend. He was family. We met when we were 11 years old, survived school together, celebrated birthdays together, and even became roommates after college to save money. If someone had asked me who I trusted most in the world, his name would have been the first one out of my mouth. Which is exactly why what happened next completely destroyed me. One Monday morning, I stopped at a coffee shop before work. I tapped my debit card. Declined. No big deal. I pulled out my credit card. Declined. At this point, I was confused. I opened my banking app, and every single account was empty. Not low, not overdrawn. Empty. Thousands of dollars had disappeared overnight. I immediately called the bank, convinced someone had hacked me. I had no idea things were about to get much, much worse. Segment 2. The woman at the bank asked me a question that made absolutely no sense. Can you verify the transfer to your second account? I laughed. My second account? I only have one. She went silent. Then she said, Sir, according to our records, you've opened 4 accounts with us over the past 8 months. 4? I'd never opened another account in my life. She froze every account immediately and told me to come into the branch. By the time I arrived, fraud investigators were already waiting. Within an hour, I learned that someone had opened multiple bank accounts, taken out personal loans, applied for 3 credit cards, and even financed a brand new luxury SUV, all under my name. Segment 3. At first, the police didn't believe I was the victim. Every application had my name, my address, my identification number, my signature. From their perspective, it looked like I was pretending to be innocent after getting caught. I spent 2 nights in a holding cell while investigators sorted everything out. Those 48 hours felt like 48 years. I kept asking myself, who would do something like this? Who even had access to all my personal documents? The answer hit me all at once. Ryan, my roommate. He knew exactly where I kept my passport, driver's license, tax forms, and other documents. But there was no way, right? Segment 4. The breakthrough came from a tiny mistake. The fake accounts had all been opened at the same bank branch. Security cameras captured the person wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses. Everything was hidden. Except for one moment. As he left the building, he looked directly into the camera for less than a second. That was enough. The police called me into the station. An officer paused the footage. Do you know this man? I didn't even need a second look. It was Ryan, my best friend. The guy I'd known for almost 20 years. The guy I'd shared an apartment with. The guy I trusted more than anyone. Segment 5. When police searched our apartment, they found a hidden folder underneath Ryan's bed. Inside were photocopies of my passport, my driver's license, bank statements, even old tax documents. Turns out he'd secretly scanned everything months earlier while I was away visiting my parents. His gambling addiction had gotten completely out of control. He'd lost more money than he could ever repay. Instead of asking for help, he decided to steal my identity. His plan was simple. Take out enough loans to cover his debts, win the money back, repay everything before I ever noticed. But gambling doesn't work that way. He lost every single rupee, then borrowed even more. Segment 6. During the trial, Ryan cried almost every day. He apologized. His parents apologized. His lawyer argued that addiction had clouded his judgment. Maybe it had. But addiction didn't force him to steal from the one person who would have helped him. The judge wasn't impressed. Ryan was convicted of identity theft, fraud, forgery, and financial crimes. He received several years in prison. As everyone left the courtroom, he looked back at me one last time. I never wanted it to end like this. I simply replied, "You had hundreds of chances to stop." Then I walked away. I haven't spoken to him since. Segment 7. People always say money changes people. I don't think that's true. I think money reveals who people really are. Losing my savings hurt. Spending 2 nights in jail for something I didn't do was terrifying. But losing someone I considered a brother, that was the hardest part. So let me ask you this. If your lifelong best friend stole your identity, emptied your bank accounts, and got you arrested, would you ever forgive them if they genuinely changed? Or is there some betrayal that's simply impossible to come back from? Let me know what you think, because I have a feeling this one is going to divide a lot of BP. And that's it for today's absolutely insane Reddit-style stories. Which one was the craziest? Story 1 with the secret double life? Or story 2 with the identity theft that landed an innocent person behind bars? Personally, I still can't decide which one is more unbelievable. Now, I want to hear what you think. Which person was the biggest villain in today's video? And what would you have done differently if you were in their shoes? Drop your answer in the comments because I read as many as I can, and some of the best comments might even be featured in the next video. If you enjoyed this video and want more crazy Reddit-style stories packed with betrayals, scams, courtroom drama, and shocking twists, make sure to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Subscribe and like for part 2, and if you want other games, please comment.